Yo, what's up guys? It's Nick. Welcome to another build guide video. Today we're going to be going over the Siege Cascade Tactician build for this league. Now, Siege Cascade is quite a fun skill. Doesn't require any aiming. This build uses no buttons at all, just Siege Cascade and a weapon switch for bossing, which I'll go into in detail. There's going to be a full rundown of everything, including the skills, the gear, the tree, and so on and so forth. So why would we want to play Siege Cascade? Well, Siege Cascade got a really nice buff to its damage scaling numbers, as you can see here. And second of all, the fact that it is an auto-targeting skill makes it really fun to use. So if you're someone that plays on a controller or on a Steam Deck or like a ROG ally, then this might be something that you might enjoy. There are many different ways you can go about building it, but this is just the way that I decided to go about doing it, and it is working really nicely for me. So let's first of all go into the skills. So obviously our bread and butter skill is the Siege Cascade. So if we take a look at Siege Cascade, it says load your crossbow with enemy seeking payloads which are fired into the air, dropping a bolt near every enemy in the target area. These bolts lodge into the ground and explode after a short delay. So as you saw from the showcase, you basically just walk around and you click, shoots a bolt up, the bolt lands in the ground, and then after a very short delay, like half a second, the bolt detonates. And for every one bolt you fire, it's going to put one bolt next to an enemy. So if you're using it in large crowded areas, there's going to be a lot of explosions, which can be quite bad for your frame rate. But because we are building this around lightning, it provides more visual clarity than if you were playing a grenade based build. So looking at Siege Cascade, you can see that the damage split is split pretty evenly across all of the elements. I'll explain why. But the tooltip is 79,000 and the explosion damage is 2.9 million, so that is pretty good. Obviously average DPS is quite high as well, so that is decent. And then with the quality, which gives us more damage against mobilized enemies, more is multiplicative, whereas increased is just added on top. So we are actually doing 80% multiply damage to enemies which are immobilized, and because we're a tactician, all of our damage pins enemies, so we're pinning and they're getting immobilized, and then we're doing 80% more damage. So yeah, it's a lot. POE gives a rough estimate, as you can see here. I'll put it up on the screen for you. But yeah, all you really need to know is it's a great skill for clearing, and it does a lot more damage when enemies are immobilized. And there are a couple of ways you can go about doing that, but the easiest way is to just go and play a tactician. So if we go ahead and look at the support gems, we're using Defy 2. Now the reason you use Defy 2 is with this helmet, the constricting command, which says requires 5 fewer enemies to be surrounded, which just basically means that you are surrounded all the time. And if you read what it says here, it says attack damage hits are lucky while you're surrounded, which means that it rolls the damage number twice and it picks the higher value, which is really useful. And insufficient mana doesn't prevent the use of skills, which is also quite nice, and I'll explain why in a moment. Elemental armament, which is giving us more elemental damage. Rapid attacks for more attack speed. Projectile acceleration 3, which scales our projectile speed. This is quite important because normally with Siege Cascade, the bolts take quite a while to go up and then hit the ground again. So if you can fit some if you can fit some projectile speed in, it makes the skill feel a lot better to use. So I highly recommend using that. And then double barrel 3, which auto reloads your crossbow once you heavy stun. And for those of you that don't know, pinning an enemy counts as a heavy stun. So basically, as soon as you pin an enemy, you're going to reload 4 bolts. I'll tell you why I have 4 bolts in a second, but that is basically the setup that we're running for Siege Cascade. Elemental weakness I use for bossing. The support gems I have are Cursed Ground, Fire Mastery, Heightened Curse, Prolonged Duration, and Magnified Area. Auras I'm running are Wind Dancer, Herald of Thunder, Ghost Dance, and Mirage Archer. Mirage Archer you can swap out for something else. You can run a companion if you want to, but this is just what I have been using. So Wind Dancer gives us more evasion for every second that we've not been hit, and for this I'm using Knockback, Blind, Clarity 2, Magnified Area, and Precision 2. The knockback will only work once Wind Dancer triggers, and Wind Dancer triggers when you take a hit. There's basically like a big wind explosion around you that knocks enemies backwards. It's just a defensive aura that we use. Herald of Thunder, I actually need to put another support gem in here. I've been experimenting, so I took one out, but you'll see that we've got Elemental Focus, Lightning Mastery, Elemental Armament, Blind 2, and then you've got a free slot for whatever you want to put in there. As I've been experimenting, this has actually been empty, so yeah, feel free to put anything you want in there. Ghost Dance, which allows us to recover energy shield when we lose a Ghost Shroud. So basically when we get hit, we are going to recover energy shield. That is being run with Compressed Duration, Precision 1, and Cannibalism 1. And then in terms of Mirage Archer, we're running a Mirage Archer with Siege Cascade, Prolonged Duration, Deliberation, Magnified Area 1, and Impale. And how Mirage Archer works is whenever you dodge, you're going to summon a clone of yourself, and that clone is also going to start shooting Siege Cascade. So it just helps amplify our clear, and it is basically usable once every 6 seconds. So if you're doing like really dense content, you don't really even have to think about it. You just kind of like hold Siege Cascade and walk around like this, and then you can dodge, and then the Mirage Archer will do like a crazy amount of damage as well, because you're going to be pinning stuff. The Mirage Archer is going to be doing multiplicative damage too, so it works out quite nicely. The other empty slots, you can use literally whatever else you want to. I just have kept it as simple as I possibly can so that it doesn't confuse anybody. So these are the only things that I would say are completely mandatory. Elemental Weakness we only use for bossing. I'll talk about the bossing setup now, but that's the skill gems. The gems that are in crossbow shot here and here don't matter. They don't do anything. The only reason I have them is just to make sure that I'm over 10 of each gem. So you want to have at least 10 strength gems, 10 dexterity gems, 10 intelligence gems. This does not affect your damage, so please don't worry about these. It's just to make sure you get up to 10, 10, 10, because we have a node in the tree at the bottom here, which gives us max life, max mana, and movement speed as long as we have at least 10, and these count towards that. So for bossing, we use the Last Lament crossbow, which is a really broken crossbow at the moment. So basically it gives you access to a skill called Requiem, and if we take a look at Requiem, it's got 1.1 million damage, and basically when you activate Requiem, it builds up over time. You press it and then you just shoot, and it shoots out these bolts which do like a crazy amount of damage and just absolutely shred bosses. So when you are fighting like a pinnacle boss like Zesht or Arbiter, or like a really tanky map boss, you drop this, so you drop your curse, and then you activate Requiem, and then you just fire away and the boss will just melt, so you don't really have to worry about that. And that is about it. If you have a look at my Last Lament, it's got 4 sockets, but you don't need 4 sockets. Just prioritize getting one that has a well-rolled increased physical damage roll and a decent attack speed roll. And then yeah, if you want to, you can get one that has more sockets, or you can buy like a 2-socket one and then corrupt it yourself to try and get extra sockets. And then I have got increased attack damage against rare unique enemies in mine, but you can basically put in whatever runes you want here. Any added flat damage or gain damage of all elements, but this is just what I'm using and it works well for me. So that is the skills, guys, regarding mapping and bossing. If we take a look at our gear, the way I am building this build, many people go on a full physical stacking version, so they stack physical damage, because if you look at the tags of Siege Cascade, it's actually not an elemental skill, and all of the damage is physical. So if you build a lot of physical, then it does quite well. If you look at the damage scaling, 276% at level 30, and for the explosion 1035 at level 30. So basically if you have a lot of flat damage, then that works out to be quite a lot, obviously, when you magnify it. So I was previously playing Galvanic Shards, and I had a lot of attribute stacking gear left over. So this is just a setup that I've gone with. You don't have to replicate it necessarily, but I think it's the most cost-efficient way to get loads of flat damage is by using an Astromantis and a Hands of Wisdom. But I'll go into everything in detail now. So your crossbow, this is what mine looks like. You want yours to look exactly like mine does. You might not be able to get the 3rd socket, so just a 2-socket will be fine. Any crossbow base is fine. It can be a Desolate crossbow, it can be a Gemini, it can be absolutely any crossbow that you can afford, but you want your crossbow to look like this. So you want loads 2 additional bolts, you want onslaught on kill, you want +6 to attacks, you want damage as extra lightning, you want increased elemental damage with attacks, and you want added flat lightning damage. The runes I've chosen to socket are Sakawal's Rune of the Sky, I think that's how you say it, which is giving us 5% of damage of all elements. So for each of these, you're getting 5% extra fire, 5% extra cold, 5% extra lightning. So that's obviously multiplied by 3, which works out to be quite a lot. I think that's the best rune to go for when you look at sheet DPS. That gives the highest, so that is what I've decided to go with. So yeah, there is a crafting video on my channel on how you can craft this. You just follow the same steps with the fractured loads 2 additional bolts. I just bought this one myself and was quite lucky when I voled and got the 3rd socket. So yeah, if you want to craft a crossbow that looks like this, there is a guide on my channel, so please check that out. Helmet needs to be a constricting command. Viper cap, it needs to be, requires 5 fewer. This is the only thing that really matters. Mine has 2 sockets. Ideally, you kind of want one which has spirit on it, which will allow us to fit in more auras, but I actually haven't gotten down to doing that just yet. So I've just got a 2 socket, which will help with balancing your rares, or giving yourself more attributes via intelligence, etc. So this is a requirement for the build. My chest, what you're basically looking for in your chest is as much evasion as possible, and then you want on your suffixes at least 2 resistances, and you want tier 1 gain deflection rating equal to percentage of evasion. So yeah, make sure you get 2 resistances at least of a very high tier, gain deflection, and then as much evasion on your chest as you possibly can. Again, it doesn't need to be 3 sockets. If you can only afford 2 sockets, then that's what you should go with. And I have armor, evasion, energy shield runes socketed in those. Amulet is an Astromentus. You do kind of want a 1-1-2 with a +8. These are about like 5 to 6 divine, so they're really cheap at this point in the league. But you can get better rolled one. You don't need this corrupt implicit either. You can just buy whichever one you can afford. For a lot of this, you can just buy what you can afford, really. So that's what I'm going with there. This ring I managed to craft. It's a ring that kind of just helps carry my rarity. You're not going to find anything similar to this. So if you're not really worried about rarity, then you can just get a ring which gives you flat lightning damage, or flat fire damage, or flat physical damage, or flat cold, but lightning is the best. And then you want increased lightning damage, and then you want resistances or attributes as a suffix, unless you're going for rarity, in which case you can just get a ring that looks like mine. It won't be sanctified, obviously, so you won't be getting as much rarity. It might be quite expensive, however, so if you are not worried about rarity, then just go for flat damage, resistances, and attributes. And then I'm just using a Calandra's Touch to reflect that ring, which is great for me. Gloves are the Hand of Wisdom and Action, which gives us, if you have a look, it's normally 1 to 10, but because these are corrupted, it's 1 to 12. It gives us 1 to 12 lightning damage to attacks per 20 intelligence, and 1% attack speed per 20 dexterity. Because we're attribute stacking, we have 326 dex, 596 intelligence. Just giving us a crazy amount of damage. Basically all of our flat damage is coming from our gloves. If you notice, we take the gloves off, there's half of our damage gone, so these are quite important. Belt is a headhunter, not required for the build. You can use any belt that you want. I have done maps without using a belt, so literally with the belt slot empty, and the build clears totally fine without a belt, so you really don't need headhunter. It's just the best for running juiced map content. You can use an ingenuity, you can use a normal rare belt, you can use absolutely any belt that you want or can afford, and the build will be totally fine. The boots I'm using here are pretty nice. So mine are triple socket with move speed, T1 evasion, energy shield, T1 flat evasion, percentage evasion, energy shield, and hybrid evasion, energy shield flat. with gain deflection and 100% socketed effect, and then a T3 res. These are like for 2 socket versions of these, it's like 30 divines. You can also craft them yourself if you want, but you can maybe get like a worse rolled one for less, and if so, then go for it. And I have 2 reduced movement speed penalty runes socketed in here, and then 1 all elemental res rune socketed in. If we take a look at my resistances, I'm fully elemental res capped. I'm just on 0 chaos res, but it's not really a problem for me. I don't really die to chaos damage. I do have a poison charm, so yeah, if you can fit chaos res in somehow, then that's excellent, because you would love to be capped on all resistances, obviously. But for me, it's not really a concern. Charms, I use a Arakali's Gift, Nascent Hope, and a Sanguis Heroine, which helps against freeze, bleeding, and poison, which are the 3 most scary elements for our build. And yep, that is about it in terms of the gear. If you're interested in my flask, it's just a normal flask and a normal mana flask. You can use Olroth's Resolve if you can afford it, which will give you guard. We are using Mind Over Matter, so our mana is acting as a layer of defense. This costs a very small amount of mana to reload, so 219. We have so much mana recoup and so much mana regen that it doesn't even matter. So we have a massive energy shield layer, a massive mana layer, and a massive health layer. So it's triple layered defense, which gives us over 30,000 EHP. And then we've also got 70% evasion, and a pretty decent deflection rating as well. If we have a look, where can we find it? There we go. 63% chance to deflect, which is quite nice. So if we have a look at the tree, I'll go through everything in detail. The ascendancy choices. We've got Polish That Gear. This doesn't really matter. Like, the last 2 points for Tactician are kind of bad. I just had decided to put these 2 here. You could go for whoever pays best if you want to start using banners, but I don't want to push more buttons, so I'm using Polish That Gear. We take Suppressing Fire and right where we want them, which is going to let us pin enemies, which is the whole point about the build. And then a Solid Plan, which gives us persistent buff reservation efficiency, which means we can fit more auras, which is just going to help us overall. If you want to run a companion, then you can. I have tested this build on Gemling and on Witch Hunter as well. Witch Hunter is pretty nice for clear, and single target damage is quite nice too. But if you want the best mixture of damage and survivability, then I would definitely recommend Tactician. Tactician also offers like a lot of flexibility. If you can get Spirit on your helmet or Spirit on your tree, then you are totally fine to use whatever auras you want. You can swap things out, you can test and experiment things as you wish. So the tree we path down here, basically all of my attribute nodes are intelligence, because I want to get as much intelligence as I possibly can. We use a couple of weapon set 1 and 2 points. I'll explain those in a moment. So first jewel we have is a Heart of the Well. Mine has move speed, damages extra lightning, recover mana on kill, and evasion from body armor. The only 3 important ones are the mana on kill, the evasion from body armor, and the damages extra lightning. The move speed is kind of just a nice extra one to have, but you don't necessarily need this. I suppose the most important thing is just a form of mana on kill, and damages extra lightning damages a lot of extra lightning damage. So there are plenty of these on the market, so you can find one that is quite similar for like 15 divines, I think, maybe less. We take all these we take these surrounded nodes here. So we've got a surrounded wheel over here and here. Because of constricting command cap, it's giving us a lot of attack damage, attack speed, roll distance, movement speed. It's just an all-round lovely thing to pick up. We use a Prism of Belief Diamond for +3 to Siege Cascade. At the time of this video, these are 1 divine, and it makes total sense to get, because if you have a look what it does to our tooltip, I take it out. 1 second. It does not seem to want to calculate, but you'll just have to. I'm not sure why the tooltip doesn't want to update, but you're just gonna have to believe me. When you look at the damage scaling, goes from 228 and 853 all the way up to, like I showed you earlier, 276 and 1035. So It's not factoring in those damage numbers, but yeah, but you'll just have to believe me when I say it's really a really good gem to pick up. Sorry, a really good jewel to pick up for only 1 divine. The attribute stacking nodes, Jack of all trades, which is giving us 2% per 5 of our lowest, and polymathy, which is giving us increased attributes. And then, like I said earlier, we take gem enthusiast, so make sure you have at least 10 of each gem color. And that is about it. The majority of our weapon set 2 is over here. Weapon set 2 is Last Lament, obviously. So we just take these penetration nodes here because we don't have any penetration on the tree. And then I also take these 2 nodes here. And then there is this up here. So those are the weapon set 2 points. I'll go over the weapon set 1 points when we get there. We are using a From Nothing Diamond with Walker of the Wilds. You don't need this. It's not important for the build. If you can't afford it, just use any rare jewel. The reason we take this is because we've got a Against the Darkness with damages, extra lightning, and intelligence. And we are then able to allocate this notable, this notable, this notable, this notable, this notable, which is giving us 3, 6, 9, 12, 15% damage as extra lightning and 15% int, which is really, really, really insane. You could even pick up another note here. I just don't have enough attribute points. Sorry, I don't have enough passive points. But like I said, if you can't afford this and you can't afford a Against the Darkness that looks like this, then just drop these nodes and put them elsewhere. There's plenty of other useful areas in the tree where you can allocate them. You can pick up that and that and that. You can make those, you can add those 2. You can add the Coming Calamity if you want to. So it's not a necessity, but it is very, very nice in terms of damage. So From Nothing with Walker of the Wilds. I just made a sale. And then Against the Darkness in that slot there. We take the accuracy wheel here, which is giving us attack speed per accuracy. Dexterity gives us accuracy, which means we are getting attack speed from both our gloves and from Falcon Dive, which is nice. It's another reason we run Precision Aura to give us more accuracy. And then coming over here, I've already explained the Against the Darkness jewel. This is what the setup looks like here. The only reason we're taking these are because they're pretty good along with the Against the Darkness. Like I said, if you're not going to use Against the Darkness and you're not going to use this Walker of the Wilds, then you don't need to take these points. We're only taking these because we can allocate them without connecting them to the tree, and they're just useful. The rest of this is quite mandatory though. So this is on weapon set 1, as you can see. 100% increased evasion from body armor, 25 dex, and that's what that looks like. Then we start pathing up here. We take Wild Storm for 15% more max lightning damage. I have a jewel here, which is max ES, mana on kill, elemental damage, and percentage dexterity. The only important thing here, because these are really cheap at this point, is recover max mana on kill and then get max energy shield and increased elemental damage. Those 3 mods themselves are normally quite cheap, like well under a divine, like 50 exalted orbs or something. And then you can always desecrate, and it will be a 50-50, and you can just unveil a desecrated mod and see what you get. Weapon set 1, we are taking Patient Barrier and Ingenuity, which is giving us int and more max ES, which is great. You definitely want to take Pure Power, which is 2% lightning damage per 10 intelligence. And then very important, you get yourself over to Mind Over Matter, which is going to mean that all damage is taken from our mana before our life. But then we do get reduced mana recovery. But then we do run 2 Clarity Auras, which is going to help with that. And then we've also got a lot of mana recover on kill, which makes mapping feel really cozy and comfortable. In terms of Anoints and Megalomaniacs, because I haven't mentioned the Megalomaniac, there are 2 nodes that we need, and that is Falcon Technique and Spectral Ward. Okay? Now, you're not going to get a Megalomaniac that looks exactly like mine. Okay? So what you want to do is when you buy your Megalomaniac, you need to buy one that has either Falcon Technique, which is here, or Spectral Ward. So you're going to buy a Megalomaniac with Falcon Technique or a Megalomaniac with Spectral Ward. And then whatever you did not get, you're going to anoint onto your amulet. Okay? So you can see I've anointed Spectral Ward. The reason I've anointed it is because I have a Megalomaniac with Falcon Technique. If this had Spectral Ward on it, then I would anoint Falcon Technique. It's really important that you guys do that correctly, because this is important for survivability. And this is extremely important for damage. So please make sure that you do that. And that is about it for the tree. I already touched on whether you can play this on other ascendancies. Yes, you can, but I definitely feel like, at least from my initial testing, Tactician is the best. Please note that this is not like a fully min-maxed build. There's still a lot that can be refined. I mean, I'm already missing a gem in my Herald of Thunder. But I'm having a blast playing this, and I'm slowly starting to play a bit less of the game now. Battlefield 6 is coming out, and a couple of other games. POE 1 at the end of the month. So yeah, I'm hoping that for anyone that wants to play something a bit different, you can play this and have a lot of fun with it. There are different variations, but I haven't seen any real build guides for it this league. So yeah, I hope it's helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, you're welcome to leave them in the comments section. I read all of my comments. I've also got a Discord server which you can join in the description below, where you can ask me questions directly, and you can speak to other people that are playing the same build and ask them questions as well. But other than that, guys, hope you have fun with this one. I also like to say thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. We hit that yesterday, so I'm really, really grateful, and I really appreciate all the support on all of my videos. I wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, so thank you so much for all of your support. But yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoy the build. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, guys, hope you have a great day and you drop a bunch of divines. Cheers.